Hello and welcome to my channel, Kuromos here. Before we start, if you are new to the game, this guide contains spoilers about the Paladin class, so keep that in mind. With the warning out of the way, today I am bringing you the Flaming Paladin, a blend of Oathbreaker and Sorcerer, specialized in fire, spells and attacks. This is a very cool build as most of our actions involve fire. Melee attacks with a fiery blade, explosive hellish rebuke retaliations and powerful fire spells. If you love fire and paladins, this is for you. However, be advised this build is more focused on role-playing and flavor rather than power, as divine smites will always deal more damage than searing smites. With that in mind, we can upcast searing smites for some decent fire damage anyway. The build starts with a single level in Sorcerer. This is to get proficiency in concentration saving throws that will help us keep active the damage over time component of searing smites, plus other spells like Shield of Faith. We also get access to the shield spell very early, helping us to survive otherwise lethal hits. After that we get 5 levels into Paladin to get our second attack at character level 6. Note, for this build we will choose the Oathbreaker subclass, so at some point in our adventure we have to break our oath. Some ways to do this will be explained later. From character level 7, the rest of the levels will go into Sorcerer. This way we can access Meta Magic, a signature passive of the Sorcerer class, that can modify the spells we cast. Kindly read the description of this video to understand my thought process and some considerations for these guides. Also, click the button down below to support my content. Without delay, let's begin. So at character creation we will start as a sorcerer to have proficiency in constitution saving throws. This will help that our spells are not so easily interrupted. We then select some cantrips like Firebolt and Ray of Frost, and 2 level 1 spells, Shield and Chromatic Orb. Our subclass will be Draconic Bloodline to have extra hit points and a base armor class of 13 while not wearing armor. Our Draconic Ancestry will be based on fire, since at Sorcerer level 6 we will have a passive that benefits from this. At level 2, when we multiclass into Paladin, we will not have heavy armor. So if you want to get access to it, you should start with strength 17 and then get the feat heavily armored at character level 5. Once we reach level 2, and now spoiler alert, before freeing Lae'zel, make sure you're level 2, you multiclass into Paladin, and then when you approach Lae'zel and the 2 tieflings, just attack them. Once you do that, after camp you will get a certain interaction and you will get this screen. You will get access to Spiteful Suffering. By spending an action you will be able to do necrotic damage for 3 turns, and this does not require concentration. At character level 3 we get access to Divine Smite as well as Searing Smite. We also get our fighting style that will be great weapon fighting. However, consider that the main weakness of this build is its low armor class. So you might consider wearing a shield for the early portion of the game or utilizing Shield of Faith often to have a +2 to your armor class. On the next level we get some interesting skills. The first one is to control undead. That will last until long rest, but the undead has to be of lower level than us. And then Dreadful Aspect, which is basically an area of effect that will try to frighten enemies. We also will have, as oath spells, Always Prepared, Hellish Rebuke and Inflict Wounds. At level 5 we will get our first feat, so we will go with Pure Strength to improve our melee. At character level 6 we get our extra attack and we get access to level 2 spells. We will always have Memorized, Crown of Madness and Darkness as our oath spells. At this point we will get level 2 in the Sorcerer class and we will get access to the Meta Magic. So now we get to choose some class passive that will improve our spells. This will be Distant Spell that will allow a spell that is in the melee range to be cast far away, and Twin Spell. Spells that only target one creature will be able to target an additional creature. At level 8 we get access to level 2 spells, Here I chose Scorching Ray, but you might be better off with Blur or Misty Step, to be honest. For the class passive we choose Quickened Spell. This will spend 3 sorcery points to cast a spell as a bonus action. At character level 9 we get to choose another spell and our second and last feat. I chose Elemental Adept Fire to make the fire damage a little bit more consistent, but you can go for ability improvement, strength, or even charisma. On our next level we get level 3 spells. We go for Fireball and we move into our next level. At Sorcerer level 6, any spell damage that we do will add our charisma modifier to the damage. At this point it's just a +3, but there are more ways to get higher charisma in the game. At this level, Counterspell is a very solid choice, but there are many others that are great as well. And to close up the build, our last level in Sorcerer will give us access to a level 4 spell. You can also go for Paladin if you want to access Aura of Protection, but in this case I decided to go with Firewall since it is a very solid spell. Now that the build is ready, I'm going to demonstrate a little bit how the build works. And I'm going to use very standard equipment. Of course you're going to have much better gear by level 12, but this is just to showcase the character, the skills and the spells. I even chose a much less optimal two-handed weapon just to make it a little bit more challenging, and you will see I will get here quite a beating, but I managed to survive anyway. So what I found out with this build is at Oathbreaker level 3 you will get this Inflict Wounds spell. This is usually a level 1 cleric spell. Since we obtain it as part of the Paladin package, this will use charisma to be cast, and we can choose 2 targets in melee and attack them with a twine spell. This will deal quite a lot of damage, and you will see late at the combat how it works. So the dwarf has managed to frighten us and we are surrounded. We can't attack, so I decided to go with Dreadful Aspect. Try to frighten the enemies so they have a less chance to hit me, hopefully. I also use my bonus action to cast Shield of Faith to have a little bit more defense. But of course the RNG of the enemies are spot on, they absolutely not care and proceed to inflict a critical on us. I decide to go with a hellish rebuke, deal quite a lot of damage, 27, quite nice. Now this second enemy manages to miss, but the dwarf is on fire and hits me again twice. So now I'm scared, I'm wounded, so I decided to heal and reposition far away, so I have a chance to survive. So I use Misty Step to go far away. And now the enemies will take quite a little bit to catch on me, because they are very slow and they have to dash and jump. So now I have the initiative once again. This guy, however, keeps destroying me from far away. I decide to save my spells, just in case for later. Thanks God the dwarf decides to go around and gives me a little bit more time to handle these guys. I missed the first attack, but the second one manages to connect. I spent a level 4 slot and it deals quite some decent damage, and then the damage over time manages to finish him off. At this point I decide that I have to push the damage a little bit, so I'm going to spend some meta magic to cast the Quickened Firewall. Try to catch both of them and hopefully inflict some decent damage upon them. As usual, let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on this build. I'm always happy to read you, to reply to you whenever possible, and if you need some help, I try to assist as much as I can. So with Firewall, if the enemies move inside the fire, they will get a lot of damage. So I try to shove him. I miss, because sometimes this game is boring like this. And then I decide to go with a twin spell and I go for inflict wounds. I have a 65% and they both hits magically connect, and suddenly the combat is over. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Adios!